on this episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists.
See that reflected in my paycheck to be like, look, oh my gosh, I did that. Like, I earned that through responsible patient care. I earned that by helping my patients be as healthy as possible. And I think there's a little pride that comes in with that, whether you're money motivated or not money motivated, that just says, look at what I did. I watched the hygienist in the practice where I was a dental assistant at the age of 15. It looked easy, and I thought, oh, that's a good career. Like, I'll go to hygiene school, and I can just have this easy job that I go and do my thing, and I don't ever have to work nights or weekends or things like that. And boy, was I wrong. And not that it was easy, but that there's so much more to it. And I think if you go in with the wrong intentions and then you never find the passion, then yeah, it's just not going to be good.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists podcast, episode number 469. My name is Andrew, and thank you so much for joining us this week. This is part 2 of the episode that we started off last week with Amanda Hill, where we talk about hygienist pay. We break it down into what we feel that we're worth, what we're actually worth, what are some mitigating factors for keeping us at an office versus us leaving an office, where does our loyalty lie? Will giving us a different type of pay schedule or pay structure keep us in an office longer? We tackle all of those things and more in this episode. Enjoy this episode with Amanda Hill.
A tale of two hygienists.
I've been kicked off my high horse plenty of times from this freaking podcast.
I remember I should. If you
I
cannot
died
get
on
kicked
the
off your
hill.
high horse a few times, you are not doing it right, friend.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I died on the Perio's Not Always Perio Hill a long time ago. Like that was ridiculous. But, and also the compensation, funny enough, like I think early on this podcast, I'd have to look at it, but I think I was a champion for anti-production based compensation because I thought it was evil, because I thought it led people to doing the wrong things. I think it still can, but
It can, but
I was wrong on that though, because for exactly the reasons why you're saying though. You look at this Aura Ring, you look at the metrics on that, and you're like, oh, metrics, KPIs. That's not a scary word, or that's not a scary thought. But then all of a sudden with dentistry, we think it's like the devil, right? And that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But if there was a way to see that and be coached on it and to be helped through it and not get beat down because your numbers are so bad, we need to be elevating everybody, not like beating people down. If there's a way to do that properly though, I really do think that that's kind of like an answer to all of this stuff that we're talking about. Because even if you look at like the doctor side of it, doctor's like, well, you're not really producing for the office. Well, doctor, just kidding. I am. Look at my numbers. And also, by the way, doctor, why are you not diagnosing perio like you should be? Because that's actually your job. Here's the numbers that everyone else in our state, our area, our city, whatever, are doing. How can we get better at this together? I will be happy to bird dog all this stuff because I do the perio chart and I do all these things and I know what it's supposed to be. I look at the bone loss. And then you tell me it's still a prophy. Like there's something going on here, doctor. Like, let's work at this together. You want me to be more productive for you? We'll bill out more, perio procedures, but you have to diagnose them.
right.
And
Right.
but I'll support you with the evidence that we
Right.
have.
And you have to support me when I say, okay, this is what I'm seeing today. Not, you look great. Everything's great.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's so tired of me saying this, but like, look, we just do the right things for all of our patients. The structure of dentistry is to make money. It really is. I mean, healthcare
But
is to
Andrew,
make
this
money
is the
too.
problem. And I got to say, when you say do the right thing.
Yeah.
I used to be the hygienist, and I will throw myself under the bus, who thought the right thing for the patient was saving them the most money and maximizing their insurance benefit and keeping them happy. To me, that's what the right thing was. And so all of my patients were prophies.
Reaction. So let me
I didn't
hold on,
understand why it mattered.
let's dig in that.
Yeah.
Were you actually doing a prophylactic procedure?
No.
Okay. So you
But
weren't
I
actually
didn't
being
understand.
appropriate then.
But I never understood. We didn't talk about this in hygiene school. I mean, I went to hygiene school
Sure.
back in the 1900s. We didn't talk about this, and I just I would do what needed to be done for the patient,
Mhm.
sort of.
Mm, I think you're in the same boat. Like, clinically, you did the periodontal therapy that
Right.
patient needed, and then you walked out an 1110 code or a Prophy code,
Absolutely.
which is look, and I understand that, and I understand the idea of like, I'm doing a huge benefit for the patient. The problem is, obviously, you're not because
Right.
you're not giving informed care, so you're actually doing something that's actually very illegal. Second of all of that, though, is that you're tying your unhealthy relationship with money into a patient's care, and that is
Absolutely.
wrong of you to do, right, at that point.
Yeah,
And I
how
was doing
wrong?
the same thing. I was doing the same thing, right? I like how, by the way, we fell off this high horse and then got run over by a bus.
Oh, I know.
But whatever happened, like, this is a very chaotic town we're in right now, like, getting killed. Um, but yeah, I think that and that's hard for hygienists to hear. It's hard for hygienists to be like, "You know what? No, I'm just doing, blah, blah." And, it's your responsibility to have a really uncomfortable do you think an oncologist wants to come in and say, "Hey, by the way, you've got cancer. How
Right.
yay?" Like, they're not happy about that. Do you think
No.
that they'd love having to say, "Look, this is gonna bankrupt you and your family for forever. Like, this is gonna be so crippling." Sorry. No, they don't love having those types of
No.
obviously, that's not how they deliver it, but, like,
Right. Right.
that's they don't wanna have these conversations either, but as a healthcare provider, you have to have
They
hard
have
conversations.
to,
In
and
dentistry, what's the hardest conversation we have? Money? Is
you
it really the hardest one that we have?
yeah, yeah,
Come on.
yeah. I have an article, it's coming out in January, RDH Magazine, called "Will I Lose My License Over a Bloody Prophy?" where I really talk about a lot of this, and I totally throw myself under the bus in it, so
Good for you.
but it like, you bring up cancer, like, I recently had to have a mammogram, right? And so I go in for my mammogram, and they're like, "Hey, we have this 3D mammogram, your insurance doesn't cover it, it's $50." And I'm like, "Yeah, totally want that."
Yeah.
What what if that front desk gal had decided when I walked in, like, I bet she, her insurance doesn't cover it, and I don't know.
She's in a hoodie today and,
Right, she's
and
yeah,
sweatpants. She probably can't
yeah,
afford $50.
exactly, so I'm not even gonna bring it up. We're just gonna go with the regular
Yeah,
mammogram.
yeah.
No.
Which is yeah. Oh my gosh. I could get into all yeah, we project so much on our patients. And the thing is, like, if you look at it, if we reminisced a little bit today, like, if you look back on your career, you change. No matter what stage in life you are, you start changing.
You
Like,
should.
we're a little bit later in our career, we would never do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But early on, it's pretty expected practice. So, I don't know. I don't know really having, like, an answer other than just, like, to try and encourage people, like, just do the right things. And I really I love objective evidence, though. I love data and numbers, I love data sets. I love being able to look at consistencies, I look at norms, I look at trends. And I really think that there's something, though, that if you're a hygienist and you're just listening to this and you're like, "Hey, all that sounds really cool, but I'm never gonna get to where you think," you start talking to your doctor about pulling some of those numbers. Like, the doctor should know them, and if they don't, then they need to get some training. You guys can all do training together, which would be kind of a fun little project. But you all should be looking at some of these, like, advanced metrics to maybe, like, lighten the load and just, like, give you, like, more of an objective opinion. So when you have these hard conversations with people, you can feel better about doing the right thing. Like, you know that you're doing the right thing at that point because all of the evidence is supporting it. But, go back to the retention thing, though. This is the whole thing
Right.
about retention.
Right.
If I had an office, you think about all these integrative hygienists, right? One of the things that they love about their office is that they get to do, like, lots of different things all the time, right? And I think that if I'm trying to retain somebody, there's only a few reasons that, like, the top reasons, in my opinion, that people don't wanna stay there. Money obviously is a big one. Not
I think
feeling
money's
valued
an
obviously
excuse,
is a
though.
big
I
one.
think money's an excuse. I think if you're happy and you're fulfilled, that goes further down on the list. Not that it doesn't matter, but I
I
think
think you're right. No, I think you're right on there. But I think that people don't understand it's not really about money. I think that they think it's about money, but it's really not
absolutely,
about money
100%.
because they
I
don't know
agree.
themselves well enough to, like, to figure all that stuff out. And I think that, yeah, a lot of dissatisfaction has to do with, are you doing the, Groundhog's Day thing over and over and over again? You feel like that's all you're doing. And people just keep coming in with the same disease rates. You never see the success stories because you're not documenting these things and you're not, like, going back and reviewing them and you're not looking at your numbers regularly. And I really do think that having a challenge, having a goal, having, working towards something together as a team. And as long as all those numbers align with someone's health and trying to improve someone's health, and satisfaction with your office, like, Google reviews and all that kind of stuff are important too. I think that they'll see a difference in how they feel as a hygienist.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with their 41 or 41.50 an hour.
So, but then taking it all the way back to the initial point of this conversation, which was pay structure, that I don't know that the hourly model is right for us as clinicians.
Can I tell you, it's not, it's broken. But let me throw a scenario at you, just see if it does change a little bit about how you feel. It might not at all. Okay, you're getting, actually, do you know approximately what the hourly wage is in your area?
I think it's 60 in my area.
So it keeps going
I'm
up.
sorry.
So it's like,
That's actually high for my area. I think it's actually probably closer to 50.
okay. So in Florida, Tampa area, Orlando, all that, it's going to be between 40 and 50, somewhere in there. Probably when I first got here in 2020, it was 34, 35. And then, of course, with the pandemic stuff, it moved up to low 40s, mid 40s. So for 4 years, that's really fast increase, right?
Well, yeah, but, I worked at one office for let's see, I was pregnant with my second kid when I started there, and when I left, he was in the 6th grade and never got a raise. So, but anyway,
Yeah. So that's a whole nother. We talk about gas prices being the same for decades on end, and then all of a sudden seeing a huge jump, and everyone freaks out, and then it's the same for a decade, and then jumps up again. Anyways, it's just the way some things are. Anyways, so let's do this. So let's say that we're going to employ some advanced metrics for your office. We're going to pay you $42 an hour, and then we're going to say, hey, Amanda, you're not anywhere near where you need to be, so you need to do more. You're like, well, I'm going to get paid more for it. No, you're not. Now, conversely, I'm going to pay you $100 an hour, but I still need you to hit the same metrics. But I'll give you a guaranteed $100 an hour. Does that change anything for you? I'm asking you to do the same exact thing.
yeah.
Pay
Yeah.
$100 an hour.
I mean, that would be nice. Sure.
The reason why I ask that though is I feel like everyone has like a number in their head that sounds like the big number, the good number, the worth it number. And I think the doctors, they also have the same number in their head, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to go more than $75 an hour, $60 an hour, $50 an hour, whatever it is in their area. But they're also not saying this is how much money I want to make out of my hygiene department, right? To be able to pay for this thing.
Sure.
I think Rachel Wall does a really good job with kind of explaining all of this. Of 1/3 of whatever you're producing, should be like what you get paid, and that sounds kind of about right if you look at all of the things included. So if you're doing $3,000 a day, you can get $1,000 a day. Divide that by, we'll say 10 hours, just because it's easier math. But that's $100 an hour. That sounds great. But how do you make $3,000 in a day? And so there's all these other external factors, right? So again, if your perio percentage is where it needs to be, and you're doing more perio procedures, you'll never make that doing 10 propies in a day.
No.
Right? Your little, especially if you have some like write-offs that are $30 propies or whatever, like that it doesn't make sense. And so we won't get into like the advanced metrics on this episode, because I feel like I'm already starting to bore most of the listeners with all this conversation. But I'm just trying to think like there's a number that is in there that we all feel like we deserve, but we also just want to show up and just do our schedule. And that can't be the same. Those two things will never be equal. If you want to make more money, you have to be engaged in the practice. You have to be engaged in doing the right thing and growing your practice. Like
So is that the case for production?
Yeah, that's the thing is like they've obviously the concerns are still there for production, right? Like you can overtreat, you can do all these things, but it's a little bit more in check because you can only overtreat if your doctor lets you overtreat. So it's like, well, you have a doctor's diagnosis and you have like all these things. And then there's some things that have a little bit of subjectivity to it. Is this a 5 millimeter or 6 millimeter pocket, depending on, who's probing? Sometimes it does change a little bit. Are you looking at bulbous crowns? Like this came in the office the other day. I was just thinking about it. We were talking about doing PerioProtect versus a locally applied antimicrobial product.
Yes.
And so clinically the hygienist wanted to go with the minocycline, right? But then the doctor was like, well, the reason that we're having this, it's plaque retentive. We have all this bacteria that's colonizing down here because of this very bulbous crown. Therefore, we're going to go with Paraprotect. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of subjectivity on those types of things. So,
Sure.
but that's few and far between. But there's also like a whole like whatever. But generally, I think having production-based compensation models makes you look at your schedule and say, okay, as long as I'm aligned with these standards of care over here, as long as I'm doing fluoride. Why do we do fluoride? Can you actually, let me ask you this, man, and not to put you on the hot seat because like I'm not trying to like gotcha journalism you, but can you tell me the patients that don't need fluoride? Like varnish is one time, in
Sure.
office applied.
Sure. Well, I'm 50 and I've never had a cavity.
All right, done. Right. I mean, there's. Let me ask you this though: do you have any risk factors that might elevate your? I don't want to go into medical history too much with you, but like, do you have habits? Do you have certain things that you do that expose you to acids? Do you take medications? Do you do this?
Well, I already admitted
There's
to the wine drinking.
right. But you said after one, you're done. So that's one glass isn't that bad.
There you go.
But again, medications, you do actually a really good job with your health. You might not be
Yeah,
the right person
I
to
don't
ask,
take any
but
meds either.
maybe you are exactly the right person though for
Yeah.
this because you are the unicorn. You have no sensitivity whatsoever. You have no exposed root surfaces whatsoever. You have no,
And I have my
obviously,
Paraprotect trays that I wear every day.
never
That
paraprotect
helps
trace,
me with
right?
aesthetics.
Okay. So how many people are like you in the
Oh,
US,
yeah.
do you think?
Very few and far between. Yeah.
Yeah. But the whole point of that like little exercise though is like, why are we doing fluoride? I don't want people to just put fluoride on everyone as like a default mechanism. No, that's not right. If someone comes to you and says, hey, why did you put fluoride on me today? You should be able to, without like a sentence, be like, oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z risk factors that put you at moderate risk.
Right.
Right. And so I think working in a production-based compensation plan helps you have that conversation as opposed to you're hourly going through the motions. Maybe you still have those types of conversations, and I hope you still would.
I hope you would. I hope you
But you
would.
don't. But you're not incentivized necessarily
Right.
to qualify your
Well,
your
the sealant
terms.
one is a perfect one because I have been the hygienist where I'm like, "Ugh, okay, I totally have time to do the sealant. Like I've got 10 minutes and really if you have nice Zerk trays too and it's already like it's easy to grab, like you're not going 45 places at once. Sorry, wait, I probably dropped a brand name.
It's
Sorry,
fine.
but
We like Zurich here. It's
okay.
fine. No.
Um, but I've been like, there's times where I've been like, I can do it. Like I don't have to bring them back. And then there's times where I'm like, I am so freaking lazy today.
Mhm.
Why don't we do it at your next recall? Like we'll just
Or
schedule
when you
it,
come in for that filling, like, we'll just add it to the doctor's side.
right?
We don't have to
Totally.
do it. Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's a perfect one where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we talked about Paraprotect, right?
Yeah.
And look,
No,
Paraprotect's not paying for this, you guys, like,
no.
but we just happen to both love them
Yeah.
and, like, work with them quite a bit. That conversation is a conversation, and it's a lot of, planting the seed, and it's a lot of, let's see how things go. There's basically 3 levels of intensity that you can use, and depending on what your patient actually needs at that point and what kind of, conversations your office protocol is. But that's also something that takes time and effort, and if you're like, well, they'll probably be all right with just, what we do, and they'll give them a mouthwash at home, and they'll call it good.
Mouthwash.
They'll mostly be all right with that, But it's like, oh, no, there's a higher standard that we can give to them if we want to. What's gonna incentivize you to have that conversation? Kinda sometimes money, right? Like, if you're not motivated by, much else, like, but money motivates you, like, that's a driver.
And even if it's not your motivation, I mean, it's definitely not my motivation, but darn it all, it's kind of fun to see that reflected in my paycheck to be like, look, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I did that. Like I earned that through responsible patient care. I earned that by helping my patients be as healthy as possible. And I think there's a little pride that comes in with that, whether you're money
Totally.
motivated or not money motivated, that just says, look at what I did.
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of like those metrics that I'm talking about. Like also that's really cool. Like look at what like do you use Waze for traffic?
Well, Google Maps
Okay, I'm a
is,
huge Waze fan because I have to see where the cops are because I speed. I'm really bad at speeding.
yeah.
And so, like, when you like, there's a car on the side of the road and it says, "Is it still there?" And you hit, yes, it's still there, or no, it's not there, and you get 2 points. Like this little thing comes up and
Oh,
it says 2
they
points,
they they gamified this thing for you.
and I am like 2 points, and my husband and I will like high five each other. I have no idea what the points mean. You
But
know,
you're winning though. You
I'm
just know that you're
winning.
winning.
I'm
Okay. Okay. No, that's interesting.
yeah.
Hold on. I think this can be okay, we won't talk about it on air, but that is a whole different, like, sort of like incentivization thing. Yeah, there's this office that I worked at before that they would track people's risk levels. So let's go Perio risk. Let's say that you came in with, well, actually, let's go gentler. Let's not do staging grading. Let's just go gingivitis, right? Patient comes in with moderate to severe gingivitis. We use the code for it. And then, by the way, they come back in 6 months. When they come back in 6 months, everything's good. They're doing all the things that they should be. Everything's healthy, blah, blah, blah. This office actually tracked that kind of those types of metrics. I would love to wager if there's a way that we can gamify, or if we can give you 2 points for every one of our patients that got healthier between recalls
That'd be so awesome.
through like objective measurements, though, right? Like you can't just lie on your perio chart and be like, oh, I didn't see any bleeding. It's just
You
like,
look at gum
blah.
score, you look at like disclosing. So like you track bleeding, you give them a
Yeah.
number, and you track plaque and you give them a number.
Yeah.
I would
How great would that be, right? Like there's a way, I think, even outside of, doing production-based compensation, even if there was like hourly, but like you did this in your practice, I think that would help you like be a part of it, like feel like you're really like motivated. Like, I don't know, like
Then
there's
you're not
more
just
to it.
cleaning teeth. You're not chatting and polishing.
I remember first time I heard that, I'm like, chat and polish. That
Chat-
sounds terrible.
chat and
Sounds like you're
polish.
getting your
Yeah,
nails
I mean that's a
done.
whole nother podcast around chatting, and how much chat do we do versus how much education do we do. But that's a whole different subject. I think we've already gone through 4 subjects here today.
I know, seriously. Well, I said it. I think in the last episode though, I've never, and I think it's worth repeating, I've never had a hygienist who's on a compensation model of production that didn't make, I mean, even multiples of what the hourly wages in the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
We just hired a hygienist, and they are going to do. So I'm trying to do the math real quick in my head. I want to say they'll make between $500 and $1,000 a day on average, in their pocket, not like their production. And I look at, so we do like chart audits, and again, this goes back to the, if you're going to be doing things, I think that you need to have lots of eyeballs on it, because there are people that are unscrupulous and want to do bad things, right? But I think, so we have chart audits. So I'll go and I'll review his charts, and I'll look at, the perio charts, and I'll be, okay, well, let's look at the x-rays. Okay, now this initial diagnosis of perio is correct. Here's what our protocol is for this type of perio, these, this depth of pocket, this amount of bone loss, this whatever. Here's their, caries risk. Okay, now here's the flow chart for that as well. Are they doing all of these things? Do their notes reflect appropriately what they've done and why they've done, and conversations they've had with the patient, all that kind of stuff. And everything's on the up and up. I can't disprove any of the things that they and doctor have, discussed with the patient, or, wanted to treatment plan for the patient. And it's like, well, if that's out there, why aren't more people wanting to do something like that?
Yeah. I think, is it a fear of failure?
I
Or
don't
do
know.
people just want it? Do everybody just want the easy button? Do they just want it easy? And the problem is easy is where you become unfulfilled. I will tell you that.
I just feel like there is a whole swath of hygienists that do just want the easy button.
Yeah. Yeah.
And doctors too. I mean, I've met plenty of doctors who are on autopilot, whether it's the beginning of their career or the end of their career or somewhere in between, that they are just like, all right, this isn't, they don't love it, or does feel kind of, monotony, whatever. I can't say all the words this morning. It's early. Monotonous. And
I will tell you, I picked hygiene because I thought it would be easy. That is totally why I became a hygienist. I watched the hygienists in the practice where I was a dental assistant at the age of 15. I watched them, and it looked easy. It was a peds practice, by the by, but it looked easy, and I thought, oh, that's a good career. Like, I'll go to hygiene school, and I can just have this easy job that I go and do my thing, and I don't ever have to work nights or weekends or things like that. And boy, like, was I wrong. And not that it was easy, but that there's so much more to it. And I think if you go in with the wrong intentions, and then you never find the passion, then then yeah, it's just not going to be good for you. But
Do you feel though that some people go in and have it, but I mean, before you even go into the program and all that kind of stuff, or and maybe even after you've gone through a certain program or not, that they go in with the hairstylist, nail salon mentality that this is what it is because that's what they see off as because they've always had healthy teeth and it's just been so easy. Hey, we're gonna do this, and then you polish your teeth and make them look pretty and sparkly, and then we're done. And they don't go into it looking at like, hey, this is a subset of healthcare.
I worry about that. Actually, you did a great podcast a couple weeks ago where you guys were talking. It was an educator forum, and you were talking about kind of some of those things that the schools do prior to admitting students, and I really liked where that was headed with more like really helping them understand what this profession is as opposed to, hey, that's
Yeah,
like easy school, a couple years of school and then look at how much money I make. Like understanding, whoa, that's not what you're doing. And thankfully it worked out for me. Thankfully, I thought I wanted easy, and that is the last thing in the world I want in my life. But
yeah.
um but it is interesting to try to understand who we are and what we do. And I don't think we do a good job. I don't think we've done a good job of letting the broader public understand who we are.
Well, and going back to throwing ourselves under the bus and falling off horses and stuff, like, man, I did exactly that too. I'm part of the problem. And it was early in your career, you kind of make a lot of mistakes. But I remember, I don't know how many, older teenagers were coming through the chair or maybe early 20s who were directionless with their career. I said, look at this. I don't work nights and weekends. I don't wipe butts. I make great money. I travel the world. Like I have a family. I can support my family with it. Like everything I want, I have with this profession. I never talked to them about, hey, you get to be a part of changing lives. Because again, all of them were happy, healthy, young people, energetic, like I was never trying to solve a problem with them. I was just trying to, hey, give some friendly advice and maybe it was a mistake, maybe it wasn't, but yeah, you're right. We haven't done a good job of explaining like how we fit into the bigger picture.
Right.
Which is a whole nother podcast. We should
It
probably
is
have
a
some
whole nother
professionals
podcast.
on, be like, hey, this is how healthcare and oral
Right.
health and blah, blah, blah. Amanda, I've taken plenty of your time. We'll probably do this in two part ones, part two kind
Sounds
of
good.
episodes. But
Random chatting.
random chatting. I think this would be, you know what, I'm gonna hold on to this until like the new year. I think
Okay.
this would be a good like episode 1, episode 2 of the new year kind of a thing. Just kind of hopefully everyone's, fired up to like in this new year, like make it a goal of yours to figure out why you're doing this. Figure like why are you a dental hygienist and what do you want out of it? Are you satisfied or are you not satisfied? If you're not satisfied, why aren't you satisfied? I probably wouldn't be the expert to help you, search through that. Amanda has a lot of contacts. Make sure obviously you guys reach out to her. But I think that'd be a good goal for this year because I think if we don't get better as a profession, like on the whole, I'm actually getting really nervous about it. And I talked about it a couple times. I'm getting nervous for this profession.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Andrew.
We don't have enough strong voices in here that are making the right types of strong voices and advocating for the profession, advocating for the individual, advocating for all of our patients and all of the other things. And I think we need to have that self-reflection as a group and figure out what we're doing. And if you are truly just look, I'm here because it's easy. There are practices for you, but maybe don't talk so much and don't
Right.
be so loud.
Right.
That was bad. That was the worst advice ever, but I kind of loved it.
I kind of love it too.
Amanda, thank you so much for being here. If someone wanted to reach out to you, or actually any parting words too. I'm sorry, I just closing up
No,
here.
I no, I loved it. I'm with you, Andrew. You figure out like why are you doing this and own it. And if you're in a practice that isn't supporting you, first off, advocate for yourself and show your worth and show them how you are a member of this healthcare team. And then and if you need to renegotiate your pay structure because it's not supporting you, then have those conversations. But start to get to know your metrics and don't be afraid of them like I was totally afraid of them. But yeah, I mean, own it. Let's make dental hygiene like, just let's let people know how much we can do and really take our seat at the table.
Absolutely. How might people find you or reach out to you? You're everywhere basically. But
Yeah, AmandaHillRDH.com website, Amanda Hill RDH on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn.
cool. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah. tale of two hygienists. Though there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.